On Larry King Now, actor Aaron TaylorJohnson and director Sam TaylorJohnson. How did you hook into Jim Frey?
I knew it was going to make a good movie because that central character was such an interesting one, surrounded by such interesting characters. And it kind of came and went, and I got jealous of who was going to do it, and then finally it was there on offer.
Plus,
Sam's just, as a director, is a natural, instinctive director who allows for actors to have space to be able to create and experiment, and I think that's always, there's a lot of trust.
all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. My guests today are Sam and Aaron TaylorJohnson. Aaron is known best for roles in Avengers, Age of Ultron, Godzilla, and Kick-Ass. Sam is a director known for 50 Shades of Grey, also an established photographer. They first met when Aaron starred in Sam's debut film, Nowhere Boy, based on the young life of John Lennon, later falling in love and getting married. They are currently working together on a new film, A Million Little Pieces. It's currently in theaters. I know that title very well because this is about an extraordinary, crazy story. Well, tell us how did you hook into Jim Frey?
Well, I read the book when it first came out in 2005, and I just remember loving the way that he wrote it in that free-form style, and I hadn't read anything that had been written that way before, and then lived through what happened to him and the book and everything.
Quite a story.
Quite a story, and then but still loved the book and still loved the essence of what that book offered, and I knew it was going to make a good movie because that central character in the book and in the story was such an interesting one, surrounded by such interesting characters. So I kept sort of tracking and seeing where that book was going and who was going to direct it and which studio, and it kind of came and went, and I got jealous of who was going to do it, and then finally it was there on offer.
Did you have to pay Jim?
$1.
$1.
Just one. He said, I don't want money, and I don't want to be involved, and I don't really know what kind of movie you're going to make, but just go ahead and be creative and write it in the spirit of art, which was the way I wrote it.
He's a hell of a writer, isn't he?
Oh, he's a fantastic writer, yeah.
Because that was a great book.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
And then on our show,
Yeah.
he appeared on our show. He was great, talking about the book. Oprah called in, invited him on her show. It became her featured book of the month.
Yeah, that's right.
And then it all exploded, and she attacked him on the air, did she?
Yeah, she did, yeah. And then I think it was about 2 years later where he went back on the show, and it was a makeup show, right? Where they...
Do you have someone playing Oprah?
No, because we don't address the controversy in the movie. We just film it as a story, as the book. So there's nothing about that side of it. That's there for everyone to go and see and watch.
Ultimately, we wanted to tell the story of the young James, trying to fight his addiction and find a community of friends and go through the road to redemption, really. A sort of story of hope, really. That was what we wanted to find, that story.
Wasn't it brought out that the book was not true?
It was brought out that there was elements of it that were fabricated and embellished, and that it was a story. But for us, the core truth was James's journey through recovery in the treatment center. And when we took on the rights to the book, it was it's a big book to then condense down. So a lot of what was embellished was really lost by the wayside anyway, because we're making a movie, not the documentary.
It stands alone as a beautiful story, and when you read the book, there are visual moments that you really want to see brought to life on screen, and it's very visceral, some of his feelings, and because we have an artist, Sam, directing and co-writing, she had very artistic, abstract ways of showing those sort of moments and scenes. So, like Sam said, it kind of became its own its own identity in a way. That was kind of the beauty of being able to kind of not stick to the book page by page. And over the 2 years that we wrote the script, we had to go through an extensive sense of research. We went to the treatment center that he went to. We spent time with his family, his friends. So, like Sam said, the through line, if you take everything on the wayside, the through line is James Frey was an addict, and today he's 26 years sober. And he went through all the obstacles
What's he doing?
Writing.
And producing. He's got a company of books he buys and publishes a lot of books.
Has he seen your film?
He has, yeah.
And?
He was very moved and overwhelmed and
Emotional
and extremely happy that it finally got made, but got made in kind of the way it was probably always intended to be made. I think, it obviously danced around different studios and probably was going to be a big commercial kind of budget behind a movie like that, like you said earlier. But this kind of fell into the hands of an artist and independent financing, and we made it on a shoestring budget and kind of pulled everyone together who wanted to be involved with it.
Very anxious to see it.
Yeah.
It's 1 million little pieces, and it's in theaters now.
Yeah.
What was it like being directed by your wife?
It's great. I mean, we have we work well together, and I think Sam's just as a director is a natural, instinctive director who allows for actors to have space to be able to create and experiment, and I think that's always there's a lot of trust.
The director is the boss, though, is she not?
Yeah.
She is.
And
She is
you're
indeed.
the final product is yours, right? What was it like to direct him?
Well, because we met in that capacity as a director and an actor, it was natural. It feels very natural to work together, and
To tell me what to do.
it feels very natural to tell him what to do. Yeah.
You shot this in 20 days?
We shot this in 20 days.
Shot it in
It was a
20 days.
wild, adrenaline-fueled, but one of the most extremely exciting ways to make
Wow.
movies. Yeah.
I was very lucky to have Billy Bob Thornton and Juliette Lewis.
Billy Bob Thornton is in it?
Yeah.
He plays Leonard, and Juliette Lewis and Charlie
Giovanni
Hunnam.
Giovanni Ribisi.
Giovanni
yeah.
Ribisi.
We got very lucky, yeah.
How did you get them?
We showed them the script.
We showed them the script, and we asked them, and we were lucky. They all stepped on immediately and were excited. I mean, Billy Bob really came on and just said, I love independent filmmaking, and this is a great story, and I'm in. But he said, it's the first time I've had to share a trailer with 2 other people in a long time.
Who does he play?
He plays Leonard. So he plays James's mentor, sort of father figure. He becomes his very close friend, and he's sort of the reason James kind of white knuckles it and stays in to the treatment center.
When we come back, Sam and Aaron Taylor-Johnson on how they each got started. 1 million little pieces is currently in theaters. You're watching Larry King Now. Our guests are Sam and Aaron Taylor-Johnson. The film, based on the book, is 1 million little pieces. Were you first a photographer, then a director?
Yes, I was first an artist, and my work was photography based, and yeah, then I felt like it was a very natural transition for me to start making movies. So I was
You have
lucky.
to have that eye, right?
Yeah, and I grew up using film, which means when you don't have any money, using film as a photographer, you learn to compose and trust that what you've done is right, which helps you when you're doing independent filmmaking. You've got to move quickly, and you trust your eye and your composition. So being a photographer was good training for me.
You've had an interesting acting career, right? I mean, Godzilla, Kick-Ass, Avengers, Marvel Comics.
Mm-hmm.
Was acting a bug to you? Did you catch it early?
Yeah, I started actually really early. I started at the age of 6, and I started in theatre in the West End in London. It was a natural passion. It was my first love. I fell in love with it, and and getting older through the years, it kind of helped me. It was my sort of own therapy. It was my escapism, and it allowed me to adapt and change, and I felt more comfortable sort of being other characters. You know.
I have to ask this. What did you make of Martin Scorsese's criticism of Marvel comic movies?
Oh, well, I don't know what he said. What was his criticism?
That they're not movies. They're not the movie industry. I mean, they're the industry, but they're not what he wants it to be portrayed.
Right. I guess I can sort of understand what he's saying. Yeah, I think you know, I think it's definitely of the times is a very superhero-driven sort of generation, and you know, the platforms have changed quite a lot. I think with streaming and all sorts of things, and I think Marvel is actually starting to move into like Disney Plus and kind of spread across the board. And there's obviously an audience for it. So you know, I know what Scorsese is trying to say. And see that, you know, Irishman is also out, but also on Netflix too. So you know, you're balancing the two different platforms.
When the two of you first announced your engagement 10 years ago, there was some drama around it at the time. The stigma was you were older, right?
Right.
How much older?
20-something years. 20-ish.
Now, that would be easily accepted today in the opposite. I'm 26 years older than my wife.
Yeah. How many people ask you about that? Not so many.
Nobody
probably.
cares.
Yeah. People ask
Why do
me
you
all the
think?
time.
Why do they think?
I feel like it's one of the last taboos. I feel like everyone comes at me with it in most interviews, and it's interesting. Because, like you said, I'm sure people don't ask you so often, but they do ask me. It makes people feel like they should have something to say and an opinion on it, but I've never really
noticed. I've never knew, you know, noticed an age gap at all. I think we just speak spiritually on a level. I just feel like we've only ever been connected as soulmates, so I've never really noticed.
Were you angry at the critics? And by the way, I think the critics are absurd.
About what?
Because it's none
Were
of
you
their
angry
business.
at what people were saying?
Oh, I mean, I think you just learn to then, from that point onwards, I just sort of didn't really pay attention to anything that had to be said about, because I don't really care. And I think also, I know that then I'm not following, you know, the rest of the, I'm doing what feels natural to me and instinctive to me. I know that I'm following my own voice, and like, you know, we do it together. So it's never really bothered me, because now it doesn't really.
Who was Taylor and who was Johnson?
Sam was Taylor Wood, and I was Johnson, Aaron Johnson. That sounds so weird when I say it now. And I wanted to take Sam's full name, and then she said, well, we'll do both.
Are you going to work together again?
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I think we work well together, and it's, you know, it's fun being able to collaborate in that way and to get up and both go to work and see each other at work and then collaborate again. It feels natural. It feels
I think
really
it's great.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I like the feeling, and you know, on other projects, I kept thinking, why am I leaving the best actor at home?
Next, we get to know Sam and Aaron a little better with a round of our fan favorite game, If You Only Knew. Stay right there. Sam is the director, Aaron is the star. The movie is 1,000,000 Little Pieces. It's in theaters now. And we play a little game of If You Only Knew. It's guilty pleasure.
Succession.
I don't know if that's a...
Is that a guilty pleasure?
Isn't a guilty pleasure something that you sort of don't really want to admit? Isn't that
Yeah.
Oh,
the
it could
idea
be.
of it?
Could be like peanut butter.
Right.
Who's a director, Aaron, you'd like to work with?
Shall I follow up with Scorsese then?
Yeah.
In an action film.
Scorsese doing an action film with some superheroes in it.
Who's an actor you'd like to direct?
Robert De Niro.
What inspires you?
Sam.
Aaron.
Really? We're getting goopy now.
Good theatre, art.
Do you do a lot of theater?
I started off in my background. I mean, I started off in theatre, but no, not recently. But when we've been in New York, seen a lot of sort of shows, and I don't know, it definitely gets me. Yeah,
Would you like to
inspires
do a
me.
play?
Yeah, I'd love to do a play.
You ever direct a play?
I haven't directed a play. I'd quite like to. I think that would be an interesting thing to do and fun.
A strangest fan encounter.
We were in a tiny village in the middle of nowhere in England, and there was a group of like young people outside the shop, and Aaron started to get really nervous because he gets nervous around these things, and then I was like, it's okay, they probably just want an autograph or something. And then they all came in, and he got really nervous and started shuffling away. And then they came over to me and said, we're writing our thesis on your artwork. Would you mind signing our book? And I was like, yeah.
Why do you get nervous?
Too.
No, I get nervous, maybe a little uncomfortable. No, it depends. It depends what...
Are you shy?
Can be, I guess. I can get a little nervous around this.
Do you have a secret talent, Sam?
I can juggle. There we go. I can juggle three balls as well
Footballs.
as 3 balls. Footballs would be good.
Do you have a secret talent?
I can stand on my head with no hands.
It's true. There's a lot of handstands, headstands.
Next, who would you trade places with for a day?
Charlie Knepp. He has a farm in England, which is.
Aaron would love to be a farmer.
I love that he was going, what?
He wants to be a farmer.
There's a book called Wilding, written by Isabella Tree, and she's married to this. So probably one of those. They live in this, they got a few thousand acres in England.
Who's your favorite director?
I'd say Cassavetes, Scorsese, Paul Thomas Anderson, Catherine Bigelow.
When you watch films they make, why is he laughing?
Because it's a
I
tough
just
one.
think it's hilarious, yeah, go on.
When you watch films, do you look at as, I'm saying for you for acting, do you look at a film as a film, or do you look at it as, I would have directed it this way?
Oh, I can look at it as a film. I get lost in movies. As soon as it goes dark, I'm in as good or bad, or if I'm indifferent.
You're into the film.
Yeah, whereas I have issues.
He talks all the way through.
So you see
But
actors,
now I know not to say when I can point out something that doesn't.
you've
that
seen
jars me.
actors where you say, I could do that better.
No, it's not that I can do it better so much as I didn't believe it necessarily, or I start to pick away and have issues. If there are holes in it, then I'll pick away. But I know not to. I try and edit out because I'll ruin the experience.
He ruins it. He talks all the way through.
What are you binge watching now?
Succession.
Best advice you ever got?
Don't rest on your laurels. That was Anthony Minghella, who was my mentor when I decided to become a filmmaker. He encouraged me to make movies, and we made a short film together. And it was successful. We did well with it, and he emailed me, which I've kept, of course. He said, don't rest on your laurels, get out there, do something, keep moving, keep moving. And that was probably the best piece of advice in work.
Aaron, what's the best advice you ever got?
Do something that scares you, something that's out of your comfort zone, that sort of thing.
What's something you wish you were better at?
Many things.
Sitting still.
He doesn't sit still.
He doesn't sit still.
Which is the irony, because when we wrote this, I did sit still, and
And
someone
I
would
couldn't
pace back
sit still.
forth.
I can't sit still. I find it hard. Even though I meditate, I find it hard.
Something that's become obsolete that you miss.
The Walkman.
I miss the typewriter.
What do I miss?
Do you miss the phone, the old-fashioned phone, where you brum, brum?
Yeah, I don't actually really like using a phone anyway, so...
Sense of privacy.
But yeah, probably that, you're right, since you're going back into that sort of internet, digital age.
Our guests are filmmaking power couple Aaron and Sam TaylorJohnson. They'll answer some of your social media questions after the break. The film is A Million Little Pieces, and it's in theaters now. We'll be right back. Back with Sam and Aaron TaylorJohnson. The film is A Million Little Pieces. It's in theaters now. Some social media questions. Blaine Pepper on the Larry King Now blog. Would you reunite with Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan for another Shanghai Nights film?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Was fun doing it?
Jackie Chan is the ultimate professional. I worked with him and Owen when I was 12, and yeah, I thought he was magnificent, and I learned a lot. I observed a lot about, you know, how you have presence on a set and professionalism, and Owen was fantastic. He was hilarious and funny and
He was successful too.
we had a lot of fun. Yeah, David Dobkin directed it, and he did a lot of comedies back then. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time.
Alex Townsend on Facebook. What was it like to work with Billy Bob Thornton?
It was a dream in the sense that it was Billy Bob Thornton. I had that opportunity, but what he brought to this movie was exceptional and off the page. He came in and gave everything, was so generous and fun, and he's a real raconteur. He loves to tell stories, and which was amazing, apart from we had very little time. So
Did you like working with him?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was amazing to, you know, be able to share some scenes opposite, you know, a legend, and obviously learn a lot. And it was amazing how supportive and behind us he was, and involved in just trying to craft a scene and get it, you know, come alive and come off the page. So he's a real.
You think he's going to help promote it?
I hope so.
Can't hurt investing.
Yeah.
No, he's fantastic in the movie as well.
Etta Pete on Twitter. Do you believe that it's easier being with someone in the industry, or would they rather leave their work at work?
Well, I love the fact that we're both in the same industry, because we can kind of understand, because it's not a very secure industry. It's not like a 9 to 5. It's ups and downs, and you're dealing with artists and creatives. Well, I mean, that's what I feel we are, and then dealing with the industry and the suits and the financial side of things, and who don't get the creative is difficult. So. You know, so to be to that point, to be able to have our own movie that we've co-wrote, produced, and directed, and be out is just a huge achievement in itself, and made for a small budget, and you know, that's an achievement in itself is pretty extraordinary.
Jennifer Martin on the Larry King Now blog. Aaron, will you return to the Marvel Universe?
As of right now, no, I'm not. I won't be returning to the Marvel.
Why not?
For many reasons, really. I think, you know, you have to have a very strong storyline in order to come back with a character like that. So.
Or if you saw a strong storyline.
Well, then we'd have a discussion. Absolutely. I mean, you know.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thanks to my guests, Sam and Aaron Taylor-Johnson, for joining me today. Make sure to catch their film, A Million Little Pieces, currently in theaters. As always, you can find me on Twitter @KingsThings. I'll see you next time.